Hello and welcome to my channel if you're new here, and welcome back if you've been here before. In today's video I'm going to do a cook with me and clean with me. About 2 years ago I was in the habit of making several meals on a Sunday, and that way I'd have dinner pretty much prepared for the rest of the week. But I'd kind of fallen out of that habit, so that's what I did this Sunday. I prepared 4 different meals to have for dinner throughout the week, and I got them all done on Sunday. So I had one in the oven, one on the stove, one in the Instapot pressure cooker, and another one in the crock pot. So that's what we're starting with. So the first thing I'm making is in this white pot, and it's a 15 bean soup, and I'm using a ham bone with it. So the first thing I did was rinse the beans and soak them, and now they're going into the pot to actually start boiling to soften them. So I'm rinsing out the bowl that I had washed and soaked them in, and getting that out of the way. And on the stove I have the pot with all the beans in it, and that now is going to it has all the beans in it. I'm going to fill it with water, and I'm going to turn the burner on so that those can come to a rapid boil for about 2 minutes before I take them off the heat and let them just sit in the water till they start getting soft. And then after that's when I'm going to put the ham bone in. So I'm starting first with the bean soup, and then I'm also going to work on the buffalo chicken dip, and then I will be doing potatoes. I believe it's or gratin potatoes. It might be scalloped, but anyway, what I'll try and do is insert some recipes here, so that way you guys, if you're interested in making any of these, will be able to see the recipes and do them yourself as well. And then in the Instapot, the pressure cooker, I'm going to be doing corned beef and cabbage. I had a corned beef stored in the freezer, and so it seemed like a good time to get that out. And the last time I made it in the pressure cooker in the Instapot, it came out really good. So it's going to be corned beef with cabbage that's chopped up, carrots, and potatoes. And it's going to be delicious, trust me on that. Now I have 3 of the 4 dishes going, as you can see there on the counters and stove, and it's time to get to work on the potatoes. So my husband's always generous enough to slice all the potatoes, since he's good at slicing them really, really thin. I don't think that I could probably slice them as thin by hand, and he has a favorite fillet knife that he uses. So we went through probably, I think, about a bag or maybe 2 of potatoes, because I left him in charge of that. So I know we had picked up 2 bags of potatoes the day before, so he got those. And then this is since the beans at this point were they'd well enough cooked, so it was time to drain the initial water from doing the boiling and give them a rinse, and then put them back on the stove with the water for the real cooking event. So while my husband was cutting the potatoes, I was over here working on the beans. Now after all the prep work with the beans, this seemed like a good time to put the ham bone in, so that way the flavor could go from the ham into the soup broth itself. So I put the ham in, and then per the instructions on the bag, I tilted the lid and put the beans to simmer. And now I'm going over and I am working on the soup for the potatoes, because I always make the soup from scratch. So I'm going to start working on that. Now in the case of these meals, I was trying to clean every dish as I went along once I was done using it. I'm not always fantastic about this, but because I was preparing 4 different dishes all at once, it seemed like a good idea to try and make sure and clean everything out as I went along, so I wouldn't have too many dishes piling up either on the counters or in the sinks. As you'll see in a moment here, I'd poured milk in using that measuring cup, and then as I was whisking the soup and it was thickening, it occurred to me that it looked like it was a little bit low on the level of the soup, and that should have been a bit higher in the pot. So I went ahead, grabbed the measuring cup, and added about a half a cup so or more of milk into the pot, because for the recipe I doubled a basic cream of mushroom soup recipe. So normally the increase would be to 4 cups instead of 2, but I wanted to make this soup a little bit thicker because I knew that the potatoes would probably give off some moisture, and so would the mushrooms. So I reduced it to instead being about 3.5 cups of milk. So I had to go back and get the measuring cup to add a little bit of extra milk later to make sure that there was enough of the soup. Kept the right thickness, but as you can see here, I added a little bit more milk just to make sure that there was enough of the soup. Now on to making the corned beef. I'm using an Instapot type pressure cooker here, and I was getting the corned beef in it and trying to set the pressure cooker up, and it occurred to me that while I had the recipe, it was easy enough to get that, the instruction book for the pressure cooker really didn't tell how to work the thing. And the last time I used this was probably back in like March or April or so, and so I was looking in the book trying to find the instructions on how to use it, and all it basically gave me was how to cook the type of meat and what pressure level to set it to and how long to cook it, but nothing about as far as turning it on and how to start it. And like I said, it's been a while, so I'd been looking at the book quite a bit trying to figure it out, and finally I figured it out well enough. When I plug it in, it turns on, and the pressure needed to be set to 70, and the time was between 50 and 65 minutes. So I ended up getting everything set up on it after studying the book for a bit, and then just pressing the button to cook, because that's the last thing I could figure since there was no start button on it. But yeah, I wish these things came with better instructions, but in the end, the part that tricks you is that when it's building pressure, it doesn't say it started or anything. The zeros next to the time amount just keep spinning in circles, so I finally got it going, at least, obviously. And now that the beans were all sufficiently softened in the soup, it was time to take the ham bone out, and I'll put that on a plate, and then I'll just cut pretty much whatever meat I can get off of the bone to put that back in the soup, so that way there's ham in the soup. The meat softened pretty well, but it's not like it just sort of fell off the bone into the pot, so I did have to cut it off, although it cut off really easily, and then I just sort of chopped into smaller pieces and put it back in the soup to incorporate it into the soup itself and got rid of the bone. So now 3 out of the 4 dishes are finished. That's the buffalo chicken dip, and then back on the other counter I have the other items. So over on the stove is the bean soup, and then next to it is the potatoes, and then off to the right is the pressure cooker, and that is cooking the corned beef. And so just releasing the pressure out of that after I turned it off, and taking the corned beef out to rest, and put the cabbage into the broth created by the corned beef, and chopping up the carrots. And now this is the entire finished setup, and on to the cleaning part of the video. I had 2 baskets of laundry to tackle, so first thing I straightened up the bedroom, putting away some clothes that were sitting on my stool because they always seem to end up on my stool. And then after that, moving on to making the bed, because that's where I'll actually fold the laundry, and then once I'm done folding it, I'll be putting it up, and that'll take care of those 2 baskets of laundry. So I got all the laundry folded and put away, either in drawers or hung up, and got those 2 baskets out of the way. I thank you for watching my video. If you haven't yet, please click subscribe down below. It's completely free. And if you click on the little bell next to subscribe, YouTube will send you notifications whenever I have a new video up. Anyway, I thank you for watching my video. So if you haven't yet, please click subscribe. Like I said, that's always appreciated. And I hope to see you in my next video.